Okay, Roland just sent me a message that his microphone is not working, so he's rebooting his computer, but we can go ahead and start without him. He'll join us in closed session.
Okay, we're almost ready. You guys ready?
I don't know why I bring it, I never look at it really. It doesn't ring or anything.
Okay, I'm gonna turn
It's
up the
ringing enough
recording
today.
on.
You can say that every day.
Come on.
That's about. What? What is, for me?
No, what you said.
Oh, yeah. I hope at least when I call you, I give you some laughs.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
Give us just a couple minutes.
Okay, let me know.
Roland, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Roland.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine, just let me know when everybody's ready on your side.
We are ready to go, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, perfect. All right, this time we're going to call the meeting of August 17th, 2020 to order. Attorney, is there anything you'd like to discuss before we go to closed session? City Attorney, did you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear the city attorney?
I cannot hear him at all.
Okay, I'll try a different
How
mic.
about now?
No, try.
Now we can hear you. I can hear you clearly. Go ahead
Okay.
once again.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the city council so moves, it will adjourn to closed session to discuss those items agendized for closed session discussion, specifically item number 1, conference of legal counsel, existing litigation per government code section 54956.9, Neil Jones Food Company versus City of Hollister, San Benito County Superior Court case number CU 2000074. Item number 2, public employee appointment pursuant to government code section 54957B1, city manager. And item number 3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to government code section 54956.9B, significant exposure to litigation, 6 potential cases. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion from council to move to closed session?
So move.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. We will now move to closed session. Thank you all.
I'll abstain from the first item?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I left my glasses out in front.
Want me to go get them?
I'll go get them.
Okay.
Can I go get them? Yeah. Because I can't see. I'm doing great.
She can't see.
Okay, Christine, let me know when everybody is back in. Christine, can you hear me?
Almost ready.
I'm sorry, everyone back or is she?
Ready now.
Okay, you all ready to go? Okay, at this time, we're going to resume the meeting of August 17th, 2020. Councilmember Lenore, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Let's move to roll call.
Mayor Velazquez,
Here.
Councilmember Lenore,
Present.
Councilmember Resendez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Spencer,
Here.
Interim City Manager Brett Miller,
Present.
City Attorney Epperson,
Here.
Interim Police Chief Reynoso.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The agenda for the City of Hollister City Council regular meeting of August 17th, 2020 was posted on the bulletin board on August 12th, 2020 at 5:10 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. City Attorney, will you please report out of closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report out of closed session is that the city council discussed in closed session those items agendized for closed session discussion and direction from staff. The city council adjourned from closed session at 6:52 p.m. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull?
Not me.
Do we have any items the public would like to pull?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the city clerk would like to pull item A2, and we have an item from the public, number A5, please.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Oh, I move that we approve the consent agenda outside of item number 2 and item number 5.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're going to move to item A2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item and council, item A2, there was a change on the August 3rd minutes. There was a portion from item F7 from the August 3rd agenda and minutes where the second motion was not placed onto the minutes. I have since made that change and would like to amend the agenda with those changes on there. I could read the changes to you if you'd like, because I just added it today. Would you like me to do that?
Go ahead.
City Attorney Epperson had requested that we make another motion or move on to the next item. Mayor Velazquez made a motion to extend the study from San Benito Street to the edge of the city on Buena Vista, work with the traffic engineer to have a temporary stop sign at Gonzales and any other points that pose a dangerous situation, and have the engineers look at how they can have residents safely park if possible along the North Street portion. Councilmember Lamore commented that staff recommendation is not to have parking on a major collector street and your stop signs down there on Gonzales. We should look at that before we put it up. We need to control the speed limit. What good is that road then for moving traffic safely? Mayor Velazquez stated that the temporary stop sign would need to be approved by a traffic engineer prior to placing it up, as with all traffic issues. The motion was seconded by Councilmember Resendez and then carried by unanimous vote. And that's the amendment I would make to the minute.
Okay, any questions from council? Any speakers on this?
I have no speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a motion?
I move that we accept that amendment to A2.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll move to item A5.
Thank you. Uh, Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item F5 was pulled by Keith Snow, so I'm going to give him just a few minutes.
Item A5, correct? I thought I heard you say F5.
I'm sorry, A5. Keith, can you hear us? Keith, are you there? Keith, are you there? I'm sorry, Mayor and Council.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and,
No, he's unmuted.
Oh, he is unmuted. He's just not saying anything. Keith, please go ahead.
is there any other speakers on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor?
Is there a motion for A5?
I
I'll
move
move
that,
that we-
go
I'll
ahead.
move that we adopt item A5 from the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We are going to move on to public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the city clerk before speaking. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have some hands up. I don't have any actual speaker cards. So I'm going to call Rosa Vivian Fernandez. Rosa, can you hear us? Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Irene. I'm the Human Resources Director, and I will be speaking on behalf of the San Benito Health Foundation and Rosa Vivian Fernandez, our CEO. Good evening. We at the San Benito Health Foundation just wanted to extend a big thank you to the City of Hollister for their support with our local Feed the Frontline event that we held this Saturday on August 15th. It was held here at the San Benito Health Foundation, and it was actually one of 2 drive-through food distributions for our local community, and it was actually the finale event of our week-long National Health Center Week celebration. Our 2-hour event was actually hosted from 4 to 6 p.m. and with the participation of the San Juan Rotary Club of San Juan Bautista, El Teatro Campesino, Hollister Super, Taylor Farms, the Community Food Bank of San Benito County, Grocery Outlet, and the Mission Cafe. We also would like to mention and say a huge thank you to Alejandra Bologna, who was representing the Consulado of Mexico, based out of San Jose, and Kayla Clower representing the Office of Rob Rivas. The event that we had on Saturday actually reached more than 400 families. And in total for the week, we saw a reach of participants from 1,078 participants, resulting in 822 adults, 160 children, and a total of 563 vehicles. So as the participants joined us for Saturday, they were provided by entertainment from local musicians from Teatro Campesino. They played for the duration of the event through a contact-free setting where they were able to receive an assortment of fresh produce, dried goods, and that was all loaded directly into their trunks. There were hot burritos and bottled waters that we provided to all participants who attended, as well as the distribution of masks with instructions on how to use them, and that was given to each attendee that came. Many of the participants were incredibly thankful and extremely excited, and this endeavor definitely could not have been accomplished or achieved without the work and support from a lot of the community members. So on behalf of the San Benito Health Foundation, and again, on behalf of Rosa Vivian, we just wanted to extend a huge thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker, Casey Mia. Mia, sorry. Mia, can you hear us? Please go ahead. Mia, please go ahead.
Hi, this is Mia Casey. Good evening. I live in Hollister. I'm speaking tonight about what's going on in Hollister with regard to the state's rejection of the growth management plan that the council approved last fall. There was a letter dated May 12th that the state instructed our city to withdraw Ordinance 1183 that approved that plan. And during a June meeting, the council discussed the state letter, and according to the minutes, the council decided by consensus for the city to go back and ask for further clarification from the state. There was to be follow-up discussion at the August 3rd meeting regarding whether to appeal the ordinance. However, I didn't see anything on the August 3rd agenda, and there's nothing on tonight's agenda. Apparently, a letter was received back from the state on July 29th. However, there's been no mention of it at council meetings or discussion of any further action. A recent Benito Link article talks about this July 29th letter, stating the city's been given 30 days to comply. This morning on social media, Mr. Mayor, I asked you why this letter hasn't been made public, and you alluded that there were lawsuit threats by developers and told me that, quote, when lawyers go back and forth, it is not public record until things get settled, unquote. The letter was not supposed to be, it was just supposed to be clarification of questions. We aren't in litigation with the state, and a letter from the state to the city is public record and should not be withheld. I'm requesting this letter be made public for transparency's sake. That Benito Link article further states, quote, Velasquez said that Jason Epperson, the city's attorney, was replying to the July 29th letter and asking about the annexation issue. I'm curious as to when and how Mr. Epperson was instructed to further reply to the state. It was not done openly at any council meeting. Was there consensus of the council for him to further pursue this matter? I would hope the mayor didn't unilaterally direct this further action. I don't believe that's within his authority to do so. I would love to have some further clarification on how that further action happened. I understand a desire to fight the state over this decision. However, many cities have fought against the growth mandate, like Morgan Hill. They lost, and we don't have time or resources right now to fight a losing battle. And given the state of our budget with looming revenue shortfalls due to COVID-19, we should be seeking to avoid further lawsuits. I implore this council to be reasonable, use common sense, and please add this item to the agenda as soon as possible and repeal the ordinance so we will be in compliance with the state. To do otherwise is foolhardy. Thank you.
Courtney Evans. Courtney, go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thank you so much. My name is Courtney Evans. I own a business in downtown Hollister. This is my 6th time speaking at public comment to ask the board to place on the agenda and to implement moral and ethical codes. The word politician and representatives in our society today comes with very bad connotations. The social media presence that some of our council has is embarrassing, and it leaves us to question their professional responsibility with representation, with an ethical
Go ahead.
foundation.
I'm back on.
I'm sorry?
I said, go ahead. I'm back on, whoever this is. Who's this?
I'm
Oh, Lord.
You dropped off.
Okay.
Go ahead.
She needs to start over with 3 minutes.
No, go ahead and finish whoever's speaking. Let him finish.
Well, I'd like to start over because I'm directly speaking to you, sir. So I would love for you to hear everything that I'm saying.
Who is this?
My name is Courtney Evans.
Courtney, please start over.
Thank you very much. I'm calling for the 6th time to this council to request a moral and ethical code be implemented and an agenda item be placed. The word politician in today's society has come with very bad connotations, especially with the disgusting behavior of some of these council members. It is a dilemma for your constituents that it is very important that we see you deal this with professional responsibility. It is a political ethics are of great importance to us because we are the constituents and we are in a very vulnerable position. The people whom we elect as public office will ultimately have governmental power over us. Therefore, if we want to know who's representing us to display these certain moral and ethical values, then we, the public, have the obligation to provide a certain thought out standard for your conduct. The conduct is unbecoming and not a true representation of the people of this community. Over and over again, week after week, I hear people calling in and speaking about their questions in regards to the conduct and not being transparent with the public. So I am again requesting that there be moral and ethical standards that this board adheres to, and that there is a way to track and trace the behaviors of our elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Am I still there? Just so you're aware, there is an ethics code that every council member is aware of, and it's given at the very beginning. Who's the next speaker?
Keith Snow? Keith, are you there? Can you go ahead, Keith?
Right here. Do you hear me?
We can hear you now. There's no.
Yeah. Well, my name is Keith Snow. And right? And one thing, I'm not hiding things, but like what you said before, better deals. I'm saying how much money to spend to do the council for counseling, because they're not getting along. Just right this via where the newspaper, right? And Kukua, dinner there, and Miss said this. I listened to him about how awful when I was talking on the phone, you said I can email you. I know all the aspects of the computers. I do create websites. How much money, just like on the agenda, I missed that part. $20,000 for PG&E. And right, and what about that? Not God's perspective on the agenda, but I was talking on that part of the agenda. This is a horrible city county Tri-City. How can we be transparency? We're not transparent. We support President the taxpayer, and I lived for 9 years. I ran for council. I see the manure tactics, political question. Look at another one. How the heck a lawsuit the county? Do you know what's money with Aubrey County? They spend for water bill. Do you know how much my water bill costs? $200 a month. This is the same. Highest ever they live here. They no for housing. It's horrible. You guys lead the city as leaders, but you guys are failures. Because if you're self-sufficient, Mr. Brett Miller over there, finance, read this, check yourself. Because all the waste spending, all the high summits, and the lawyer over there, Jason Brenner, were the power of air. As your law firm. What's with that part? See, all the things observance. I think that people are just for by political consensus that tell me things and then send link. And make things up like a fire at the library wasn't true. Say lies about consent to me. And then we have to be true to ourselves with Darcy, with that work for district for supervisors. They knew I was doing last year. Made things hard for me. That's all they do, make it hard for the people.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Thank you, Mr. Snow.
Next speaker, Sal Mora. Sal, please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'd like to speak regarding the article that Mia Casey also spoke about. After reading the article, I was very disturbed. It was very disturbing what I read, especially the part where it said that Mayor Velasquez stated that Jason Epperson, the city attorney, was replying to the Housing and Community Development's July 29th letter and asking about the annexation issue. The problem is that the HCD gave the city of Hollister 30 days to respond regarding the situation that they found the housing element illegal, not to entertain other questions or get clarification. We have 30 days to let the housing and community development know that we are suspending immediately and not following the housing element of our growth management ordinance. If we do not immediately suspend the housing element of the growth management ordinance plan, the city is going to be fined, not a lawsuit filed against it, because the law states that there are fines, which I stated last time. The law does not state that there will be a lawsuit filed. If a developer chooses to file a lawsuit separately, that's something different. And I'm just curious as to what Mr. Epperson, what ongoing litigation he is referring to when he refused to comment to Benito Link on August 14th. The public has not heard about any litigation filed against the city. So I'm just because people have possibly threatened or spoke of lawsuits does not prevent our city attorney or council members from speaking on certain items. If that was the case, we never would have had any discussions when our own mayor publicly threatened to file a lawsuit over the 400 block issue. So that is completely false and not an accurate statement. It's disappointing that our own city attorney is not being very honest and forthcoming. I find that very troublesome and definitely should be addressed in the near future, and possibly means we may have to get a new city attorney. We need to follow, unfortunately, we need to follow the law. We ask our citizens to follow laws. We must do the same as city leaders. We may not like the laws. I do not like the state telling us how we have to grow. I do not like that. I agree that if the state is going to mandate us to have to grow with housing, that they should give us money.
Thank you very much.
Actively say we are not going to follow the law.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
I have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, this time we're going to move to.
I'm sorry, I did one from the audience, Elias Salinas.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I have been sitting here in the audience for more than a year, listening to Courtney Evans come up and ask for the board to come up with an ethics rules, policies. We have the FPPC that we're supposed to abide by. We have Robert's rules. We have the Brown Act. And today the mayor decides to answer Courtney by saying that we already have an ethics policy. She's asked 6 times, and I believe she's also emailed the council asking for this. She should have been told that a long time ago. And every single council member sitting up there or out there in Zoom behind a picture or no name, because part of the FPPC rules state that you must show your face to confirm to the constituents that you are paying attention to them. You're not aware that there's ethic policies. Obviously, I can personally tell you that Roland Resendez and the Mayor Ignacio Velasquez have not followed the ethics policies because they break it all the time. There was reason for Resendez to get censured because he did not follow ethics policy. And it's quite shameful that today the mayor says that there is something that he should have shared it with Resendez so Resendez could be following that policy. The mayor does not have the power to direct any city staff on anything. It must go through the city council. So if there is reason for Jason Epperson to follow through on some July 29th letter, he must have been directed by the city council and not by the mayor, and that needs to come up on an agenda item so that that can be discussed as soon as possible, because again, That is a violation of ethics policies and FPPC rules, the Brown Act and Roberts rules, all combined up together. And you, Mayor Velasquez, are a genius at breaking ethics policies.
Okay, I'll repeat once again. It's been very clear, ethics codes are been out there, and it's been explained several times in public. Why or how people are acting as if this is new is beyond me. I've said it many of times. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item, D1, City Manager's Report.
I will send Courtney Evans the council policy that we have currently. That's nothing else to report.
Thank you, Brett.
We're going to move on to item D2.
But, COVID, nothing at this current time for trainings and conferences.
We'll move on to E1, public hearing. Item 1, E1.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, we have before you a request for amending Chapter 6, animals, as it relates to mandatory microchipping of dogs and cats. But to provide further information, we have Supervisor for Animal Control, Kara, will do the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Good to see you all. Today I'm here on behalf of the Hollister Police Department and Animal Care and Services to propose an ordinance for mandatory microchipping of dogs and cats that are impounded at the shelter for a second time. This would require that any animal that's been in our care more than once, to be microchipped by the staff before their release. This is in an effort to free up space in the shelter for the strays that truly need the room, and to allow these animals to be quickly reunited with their owners.
Is there any questions? Are you done with your presentation?
Yes, that is all.
Is there any questions from the council?
I don't have a question, just that I think this is a great ordinance, and I stand behind it. As an animal owner, I'm a very responsible animal owner. My dog is chipped and fixed, does not leave my front door without being on a leash. I think every person in this community that owns an animal should be as responsible.
Okay, is there any questions or comments?
I do, just for the sake
Councilman
of,
Lenore?
yes, thank you. I'll agree, you know, you may not see it important as chipping, but it could work to your advantage. And we love our pets, and then they get fireworks and they're gone. And then somebody finds them and they turn them in. So, you know, I'm sure everybody agrees. It might be a little bit, the owners might not like it, but I think overall it's a great program for the safety of the animals. We know we are really charged with the safety of animals. They are at the mercy of the human owner. So we should do this to keep the animals safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions or comments from council? At this time, we will open public hearing for the public. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one speaker.
Go ahead.
Keith Snow. Keith, go ahead. Keith, go ahead. Keith, go ahead. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, Keith.
I was there. I thought, I want to get my dog chipped too. That's a good idea. KeithSomeWild.com. So, someone Amazon's costs to chip your dog to the county, city. How much does it cost?
That's a different question. We're talking about those are at the shelter. They're going to be chipped. You can call the shelter and get that answer, sir.
And the other one before the lawsuit, just give me a nap, put my hand up on that part. Do you know I can talk about that?
No, we're talking about this chipping at the shelter.
I know
animal shelter.
that, but excuse me though. I want you to know that it's not fair. I'm doing the thing. I'll zoom in, but don't skip me next time. And then equal rights says, "Bond my culture right to talk on the matters in my city and county." This is for. So I want you to know that. I know that it's skipped before, not right.
Mr. Snow, do you have a question about this item? Any other question
No,
about
no,
this?
I know to you. I want to my animal. I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
I know.
Do you have any other speakers?
We have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor?
This time we'll close public hearing. Any other questions or comments from council?
I do. I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was a little bit confused on the recommendation. Usually we have the first reading, but we are amending an existing, we're making an addition to an existing ordinance. So it doesn't require the second public hearing. Normally we waive the full reading and we move it on to the next hearing for adoption.
We are adding a section to a chapter.
So it's different?
Yes, so
Okay.
it does not exist in our mini code at this time. We are adding this section to our chapter 6 of our titled animals to our mini
So
code.
it's a different process than the brand new ordinance. We have the first
It's
reading
like a brand new
and
ordinance,
the
yeah,
second
but it's
reading.
it is a new ordinance adding a section for microchipping.
So no second reading required.
Second
Got
reading
it.
is required.
Oh, so we are gonna reschedule it for a second reading.
So this is the first reading.
Because the report just doesn't say that, so that's cool. That's what I thought.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Who spoke? I'm sorry.
it's Carlos.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Just add, I think that just to cover and just to make sure that the public understands, it's the cost associated with this is very reasonable. Kara, if you can elaborate what the cost is.
The cost per microchip is just $15.
It is very reasonable for responsible pet owners. And then there's things that could be done even if that was an issue. So.
I just meant procedural wise.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept ordinance, or we waive the reading and introduce an ordinance of the city of Hollister amending chapter 6 animals, adding section 6.08.125.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We're going to move on to item E2.
Thanks, Kara.
Good evening. Just wanted to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you really well.
Great. So staff is requesting to amend miscellaneous sections of Title 17 zoning of the Hollister Municipal Code to ensure internal consistency regarding where cannabis facilities may be permitted by conditional use permit as already intended by the code in the North Gateway, West Gateway, Light Industrial, Industrial Business Park, and Airport Support zoning districts. The proposed amendments assure internal consistency of land use designations that have been previously approved. On June 17, 2019, Council adopted Ordinance 1179, which amended Chapter 542, Cannabis Facilities Regulatory Permit of the Hollister Municipal Code. At the June 25, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission adopted PC Resolution 2020-11, which recommended to the Council adoption of the amendments to Title 17 zoning of the Hollister Municipal Code. The proposed amendments to Title 17 will identify and ensure consistency with the land use designations where cannabis facilities may be permitted by conditional use permit. All of the allowed uses in the cannabis ordinance are being added to the appropriate zoning tables in Title 17 to make sure that the code is clear and consistent between Title 5 and Title 17. Staff would like to make the council aware that the Planning Commission made a motion to amend section 542-170 subsection C to define qualified patient. However, amendments to chapter 542 were not brought for recommendation nor properly noticed at the June Planning Commission meeting. And staff would like direction if council wishes to proceed with making this change at a later time. Tonight, it is the recommendation of staff that you hold a public hearing, read by title only, waive full reading, and introduce an ordinance of the City of Hollister amending miscellaneous sections of Title 17 zoning of the Hollister Municipal Code, and schedule a second reading and adoption of the ordinance for the September 8th, 2020 City Council meeting. That concludes my presentation.
Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry. Let's try it again. This time we're going to open it to the public. Item E2. Do we have any speakers?
Go ahead.
Hi there, Keith Snow. Okay, Mr. Mayor. Number one, here you guys default all the ones that are active, non-active, right? I want to remind this, and Mr. Brad Miller, can the dollars, Hams revenue first, the all closed down, see also, so we can't walk back, right? Then all of a sudden, we permitted a mercy for the tax on marijuana. They say you know knowledge of marijuana operations, but you know people that know operations. What this can be dollars. Why can't RC County 70 County sell to be $4 billion a year on marijuana? What's up with that? Why can't you calculate what the optimize and open for business for marijuana city? As long as the kids don't get it, right?
Do you have a question? Mr. Snow, do you have a question on this item? Not your view on marijuana, but a question on this item.
But for a fact, there's vigilant strategies still with the author. Vigilant strategy. Same with Petiza, right? Or Tri-County.
No, sir. Again, do you have a question about this particular item? Not just a statement.
I'm saying I want the answers. As the person said, it is not doing that bit more like you, right? When we went to meet before that marijuana campus in our city, you had no knowledge of it. We had no all knowledge of it, right? Like what's called Marty said, backdoor deals. I'm saying we're Mendes is all covered up, right? How much money the city get per year on campus per year?
You have to be specific to the item on this agenda.
I know, but
not they just have a conversation about marijuana to speak.
I know, but
you have a question about this item.
About.
If not, we have to move on, sir.
Well, how can you move on? You guys move back.
We're talking about this item. Do you have a specific question concerning this item?
I'll write the paper. This is what just it. Because they like ignoring all the questions while I'm asking questions and answers. I know that people would see Ray Mendes, marijuana. They did hire strategists with the government.
Again, Mr. Snow.
Government and the housing.
Mr. Snow, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to cut you off if you do not have a specific question. This is not a time to have a conversation on marijuana.
Okay. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other speakers? This time we're going to close public hearing. Take it back to the council. Does the council have any comments or questions? Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation of staff to waive the full reading and introduce ordinance number 1194, amending sections Title 17 zoning of the HMC, and schedule a second reading and adoption of the ordinance for September 8, 2020 City Council meeting.
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We'll move to item E3.
Maria, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Maria. I am the Cannabis Affairs Manager within the Development Services in the City of Hollister. The item before you tonight is for the approval of a cannabis use permit and development agreement for Hollister Holistics 2 to operate a cannabis delivery facility, non-storefront retailer at 1802 Shelton Drive. Wanted to go over a little bit of background for the applicant's request. Our ordinance allows a permitted cannabis business to operate this kind of facility. This approval again would be for a non-storefront retailer that would allow the licensee to sell cannabis goods to customers exclusively through delivery. A non-storefront retailer must also have a licensed premises, like I stated before, to store the cannabis goods for delivery. The applicant already has a permitted distribution facility and manufacturing facility at the same property of 1802 Shelton Drive. The premises of a non-storefront retailer should not be open to the public. The delivery of cannabis or cannabis products and goods should only be between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. to people or citizens over the age of 21 and may operate as many as 7 days per week. All delivery customers must provide a valid proof of identification. Hollister Holistics 2 is proposing to add at least 5 employees to this component of its business and start off with 1 car for its deliveries. With that said, staff recommends that the City Council hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution approving the cannabis conditional use permit / development agreement for a conditional use permit 2020-01 for Hollister Holistics 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the council?
The 1802, is that the same address as the one, Genesis? Same building? Thank you. That's my question. Thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments from council? This time we will open it to the public for the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Carl Sailing.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Hello, City Council and Mayor. Good evening. My name is Carl Sailing, and most of you know me as the CEO of Hollister Cannabis Co., the first licensed and active cannabis business here in Hollister. I'm speaking today to urge you to approve resolution number 2020-159, approving a conditional cannabis use permit development agreement for Hollister Holistics 2 to operate a cannabis delivery facility. For clarification, I am also CEO of Hollister Holistics 2, and we are looking to create a new business to provide safe and compliant cannabis deliveries to the residents of Hollister and the surrounding cities. Our new delivery service would have a full and complete menu of products and not just the products that we manufacture in our other business. During these times, there are many people that would prefer not to potentially be exposed to COVID-19 and would prefer a safe experience at their home. There are also many consumers that have compromised immune systems and cannot risk going out, and a delivery service would be their best option. We have very strict protocols on how we will deliver. We sanitize every single order before leaving our facility, and our drivers will do a complete sanitation process before and after every single delivery, ensuring the best we can, providing a COVID-19 free experience. We're also working on a contactless payment system, so there's absolutely no contact. Now, currently, there's not an official Hollister delivery service, and we would be proud to be the first company with that honor. Also, over the past 2 years of operations, we have proven that we are great neighbors to the city, and the city of Hollister is very important to us. We want to continue to be of support to the city and its residents, which I am one of them. We are professionals and will operate in a safe and always compliant manner. And I thank you for your support.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor? Keith Snow? Keith? Go ahead.
Want to ask all the other, what Marie Mendez there? Is Marie Mendez there? She in the council was there?
Do you have a question, sir?
No, I'm asking, my question is, that once the Cardinals want to be first club our city can operate. But for a fact is more than that. One plants another one, semi campus another one, all kinds of ones. And another one too, on the one the coronavirus last year came out when they are operating, they have been operating, right? I'm for that, for medicine for the people that
Mr. Snow, do you have a question? I'm sorry, Mr. Snow.
No.
We have to be focused on the item on here. We understand. Hang on. I just want to give you a second so we're clear. I want to make sure you understand clearly that we have to be focused legally, not your.
Legally, I want to understand too. You guys are the touch, C County, right? And more, for fact, I know facts, right? Not fiction. And you guys fertile land. Because Murray is one of the highest campus clubs in the United States. They make $400 million a year. More $2 billion a year. We're so weak and high in some things, these clubs, and I have a whole list of clubs, right? But they're not giving out answers. It's over there, people are handling the one handling marijuana. I want a big win start State County. We have to be legit and be more honest to people that need, being handicapped, being disabled, had cancer, had diabetes, like Marty before, right? People that sickness, right? We need that, right? We have to be honest to people. For you to say you know nothing about the club before. But I've been in meets before with you.
Mr. Snow, we're not questioning that.
I know, but I'll get to the question.
Item. We understand.
I'm asking about that. One to ask your friend for the charge, him because Aubrey. Not one. The guy said one card want to be for an Aubrey. And Miss Marie Mendez there. The council. When you ask questions, answer to me. It seems like I've listed things at marijuana clubs in our city, county, and they're not seeing what's Aubrey. So how can you calculate the numbers of money you're making, not making things sort of like, for example, he said $2 million just to make active over there of Harbor.
No, your time is up.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Do we have any other
speakers, Mr. Mayor? I have no more speakers.
Yeah, no more speakers. This time we will close public hearing on this item. Is there any other questions or comments from council?
No.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2020-159, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hollister approving a conditional cannabis use permit development agreement for Hollister Holistic 2 to operate a cannabis delivery facility at 1802 Shelton Drive.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Against? Motion carries 4-0. We'll move to item E4.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, staff, staff would like to ask for this item to be withdrawn. We're still in conversations with Recology, and we have not come to a solution as of right now.
Is there any questions from the council?
Yes. I wondered if it's appropriate to mention that I think there is more needed garbage collection downtown since we have the outside dining? Is that something you might discuss with them? Because I see the garbage all piling up and the cans need to be emptied, maybe a little more regularly. I just wanted to bring that up. But, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Because it is listed on the agenda, we will now open it to the public for public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
I have no speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, there's one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. When I looked at you, you didn't have your hand up, Delia. So please go on.
You missed it. Love that blasters, right?
Hi, I don't know where you all are in negotiations, city staff, but I do understand that the item will be brought back to the San Benito County Board of Supervisors agenda on September 22nd. So I'm hoping that you are also in communication with the board or with the county staff as well, so that we can all move forward on this. And you all know that this is a big pet peeve of mine, to make sure that we don't get the rate increases, and hopefully we get some kind of a stay. The economy is getting worse than it was when I first started discussing this. It's gotten worse and it's not going to get any better. So I'm hoping that the negotiation goes towards what's in the best interest of all the citizens of Hollister. Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor? We have Keith Snow.
Go ahead, Mr. Snow.
Keith, go ahead.
Keith, it looks like you're on mute.
Keith? Keith, go ahead.
Can you please unmute yourself?
Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, Sal Mora. Sal, go ahead. Sal, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here now. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'd just like to give acknowledgement towards Recology for engaging with the city, county of San Benito in negotiating, potentially reducing or even possibly even staying the rate increase. I think it shows that they do listen to the community and public, not just, you know, I know a lot of people didn't send in their opposition forms, so it's good that they listened to the community who spoke out, and hopefully we're able to come to an agreement that benefits everyone. You know, these are definitely tough times. We know we could potentially hit even harder times with people's incomes and with economies being so shaky. I just want to acknowledge the company for not pressing and opposing the contract agreement. I just want to say thank you to them, and thank you for with Brett Miller for holding those discussions.
Do we have another speaker?
I have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, we will close public hearing. Is there any comments or questions from council?
I have a comment. It's appropriate to do it now, and Mr. Morris spoke, but I just want to remind folks that we entered into a business contract. This was defined in the contract, so I'm struggling with the default on the contract, where I sympathize with where some folks are coming from, and I certainly don't want a higher cost of living, but I'm not sure we can breach our contract, so we'll wait to see what's the recommendation. But just to be honest, I want you to know that that's on my mind. Thank you so much.
City Manager, again, what did you need for tonight?
We are requesting that you withdraw this item.
Is there a motion to withdraw this item?
I'll move that we withdraw item number, oh, help me out here.
2020-160.
Thank you. 2020-160, as directed to do by staff.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Honor seconded.
Honor did second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are going to move to item F1.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Bob Martino, Campo Hollister Fire. Resolution 2020-161 is a request for proposal for public safety, which consists of animal control, code enforcement, the police department, and the fire department, to have a development of a master plan. This master plan serves as a roadmap for public safety to address future growth in the community, which consists of a variety of growth patterns such as industry, technology, population, retail, agriculture, and so on. This master plan will identify potential growth and its various calls for service as it pertains to public safety. Because it's a multifaceted, a multidisciplined master plan, I'll be speaking first on this, and if you have any other questions, the other department heads that I spoke of earlier can answer questions also, but that concludes my presentation on the request for proposal for the master plan.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions from council?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Brett, please, there's no financial impact when you hire a professional to do the study?
This is authorize the release for a request for proposal.
Or authorize the release for request. We're
Yeah.
gonna do a request for proposal.
Correct.
So, all right, no financial impact for that.
Not yet.
I just didn't read that, I guess, right. Thank you. So we're not there yet.
Not yet.
Is there any other questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards? No speaker cards?
No speaker cards, but I have Keith Snow. Keith, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Black. About Combo, how much do we spend for master planning? How much negotiating does it cost city with consultants? How much money waste on this? As someone petite, I feel that they're doing paying his fair share. While back when went to cardboard meeting a while back years ago. I'm not going off track, but for fact is, I didn't get answers, right? And do you know, Bob Tiffany, for Tagomas, is on this amendment, the new house will be built. She's all that developed that Austin knows. They will bond all this. But how much will it cost the taxpayer? And on this master planning, how much do you spend more money for consultants to master plan? No cost go figure. Person that master planning is called negotiating compromise. How does it cost the taxpayer? How much are we even or negative? Right? Because when Arn told me we're 40% under budget, city under budget, under West County, how much budget are they under? I mean, let's get down to numbers. The cost, like you said, the dollars, the values. Value of being a leader of city or county. We have to be more about openness for the people. Bob Combo, I want you to look into that to all you email you on the fire, the arson, or the grill, and all the West Fargo Bank, that thing. All that they what that's arson. I mean, just broad daylight, go figure. Not gonna study the truth. This bill also openness. Well, let's have
Mr. Snow, again, please stay with the subject item we're discussing.
This our workshop.
This is not, Mr. Snow.
Can I do a workshop?
This is
Can't
not
pay
a
my
time.
water bill.
This is a time to ask for this item and this item only, not about
I know about
asking
this.
questions or making statements.
It's about the money. It's about the money. Are we negative? Or we did this? We did no question before. San Baptista, fire, and police, and all the other ones. We not said this before. I'm seeing the Bach Harbor. I see the police chief Russo, right? Police and Bach Harbor fire chief, right? And Charlie guy, another one coming in the mix, right? When things happen, right? Big fires downtown, right? I'm saying how much money does are we making or spend more money?
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Your time's up. I just so we're all clear on this, Mr. Snow and everyone else, when you do request to speak, it has to be concerning the item on the agenda. And it's not about a time to just speak about anything you want to speak about. This item here allows for a study to be done so we can raise the impact fees or the rates that need to be paid for different fees to make sure we're correct and not undercharging or overcharging to make sure expenses are covered. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
I have no more speaker cards, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any questions or comments from council?
No.
Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2020-161 as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll move to item F2.
Good evening again, Mayor, council members. Resolution 2020-162 is a resolution for the city council to allow the fire department to accept a FEMA assistance to firefighter supplemental grant for COVID-19. In May, we came to you requesting permission to apply for the grant, and we had a real short fuse. I think it was about a two-week window to apply for this. I had our assistant to the fire chief apply for it. She did it within 72 hours, and we were awarded over $10,000 for supplemental equipment to staff our personnel for COVID response. What this resolution requests is us to go ahead and accept the money from FEMA, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion on this item?
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2020-162, a resolution of the city of Hollister, the city council of the city of Hollister, accept the FEMA fiscal year 2020 COVID-19 supplemental.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries.
Thank you,
4-0
Chief.
4-0 vote. We'll move to item F3.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Eva.
Perfect. Thank you. My name is Eva. I'm with the planning department. Item F3, you've seen before. This item was continued to this meeting tonight from the August 3rd meeting. This is a resolution approving an annexation agreement between the city of Hollister and Alan and Lorraine Woodle for a property located north of Buena Vista Road. This property was pre-zoned at the September 3rd, 2019 City Council meeting with Ordinance 1182, and the environmental document, a mitigated negative declaration, was adopted by the City Council at the August 19th, 2019 City Council meeting. So this item is again for the annexation agreement, and staff would recommend that the annexation be approved, or the annexation agreement be approved by the City Council.
Thank you. Is there any questions from council?
No.
Is there any speaker cards on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Hugh Bickle? He's in the audience, so give him just a second.
Could we do the attorney first? Her presentation. Is that possible?
Sure. Christine Kemp?
Then I can speak to it. If you have any questions, I can answer them for you.
After. Christine Kemp, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Christine Kemp, and I'm speaking on behalf of Hugh Bickle. Can you put up my PowerPoint, please? I'm just going to wait for the PowerPoint to get up. And I don't think I'll take longer than the 3 minutes, but I would be speaking to items F3 and F4. So if I'm over a little bit, I'll take that off the F4 time. Thank you. Again, Christine Kemp on behalf of Hugh Bickle regarding the Woodall property annexation. Next slide. I want to reiterate that the state housing law mandates that your city council follow staff's recommendation and approve the Woodall annexation agreement and initiate the LAFCO annexation proceedings. Next slide. The provisions of the recently adopted SB 330 apply to the city of Hollister, and it's illegal for the city to ignore state law. Next slide. The city has twice now been told by HCD that they are violating the state law in 2 letters that they've sent to the city. And the letters have specifically found that the city's actions related to the growth management program and an action on pending housing applications, including the Woodall project, violate state law. Those letters were dated July 29 and May 12. Next slide. Your city council, as your staff has just pointed out, has already initiated a resolution to pre-zone the Woodall property. A mitigated negative declaration has been adopted for the Woodall property annexation and pre-zoning. And the property has in fact been pre-zoned under city ordinance to medium density residential. So the property complies. The annexation request is zoned for medium density residential housing, and the request to move forward with the annexation is consistent with that. Next slide, please. Under SB 330, the city cannot deny a housing project that is consistent with the general plan and zoning. And I just showed you why it's consistent with the general plan and zoning. The city's already pre-zoned it. The only basis on which you can do that is an adverse impact on public health and safety with no feasible method to mitigate that impact. That's not the case we have here. We received a letter, city received a letter from the San Benito High School district at the August 3rd meeting, and questioning the ability to mitigate school impacts. I want to point out that the statutory school fee under the government code is deemed as full mitigation for school impacts. The city adopted the mitigated negative declaration for the Woodall property pre-zoning, finding no unmitigated impacts, including impacts to schools. Next slide. The Woodall project negative declaration analyzed 109 units for the Woodall project, resulting in 18 San Benito High School students from the Woodall project. The Woodall project is actually 98 units, results in a lower number than analyzed in the negative declaration, and is deemed to be fully mitigated by the payment of the statutory school fee. Next slide. The San Benito County letter, San Benito High School District letter of August 3rd recognized this, stating, "We understand that the law does not permit a land use agency such as the city to condition a project approval on a project applicant providing school facilities mitigation in excess of the payment of school impact fees. That is the method in which school impacts are mitigated. San Benito High School District has the ability to seek further funding through voter approved bonds or other state resources. Next slide, please. It's also important to note that SB 330 applies not only to the actual housing project, but also to any required land use approvals or entitlements that are necessary for the building permit. The two resolutions in front of you tonight to approve the annexation agreement and initiate the LAFCO proceedings are necessary for the Woodall project and consistent with the actions the city has already taken to facilitate the annexation and construction of this project. Next slide, please. The Woodall project development complies with applicable objective plan and zoning standards and city criteria adopted by your city council. There are no unmitigated impacts, and the city is in violation of state law if the city council does not affirmatively vote to approve the Woodall property annexation resolutions. Next slide, please. A denial of this consistent housing development subjects the city to potential fines, penalties, if they fail to support their, if they fail to correct their unsupportable decision, and also an award of attorney's fees if the developer is successful in the court action. Next slide, please. The city must approve the Woodall applications within 5 hearings. 3 have previously happened, and this is now the 4th of the 5 hearings. City Council's continued split vote is a de facto denial, which violates state law. Next slide, please. The city must act to approve the 2 Woodall applications as the Woodall project is consistent with the general plan and the zoning. Failure to do so violates state law, subjects the city to fines, attorney's fees, legal action, not only by the developer, but also by the state attorney general's office. We ask that you take an affirmative action on this project and move the annexation agreement, and under item F4, move the initiation of the LAFCO proceeding so that the Woodall project can move forward consistent with the actions that the city has already taken to promote this housing project. Thank you.
Okay, Biffle, go ahead.
My turn?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about her presentation?
Nope.
No? Okay. I just wanted to point out just a couple of things that we talked about at the last meeting of this. I really think just a blanket refusal to consider any new residential projects as the 2 no votes have taken. It's just, not warranted in this particular case, at least. This is really a nice project. We just last week sold a house to one of this city's firemen, brand new hire, in the lowest wage. He can afford to buy one of our houses, a new house. Granted, he'll outgrow the house when he starts having kids and the rest of that, and he'll move on to a bigger, nicer house. But at least he can be in Hollister from day one. And if we're having an earthquake or something like that, it's nice to be able to have your emergency response people, even those who are not on duty, to be able to come in and service. And having them be able to live here in the city is important. So that's just a thing I didn't cover last week that I wanted to cover. But I really would hope that the mayor and the councilman understand that this is required by law to approve this, period. There's no exception. There's no way around this. This is going to get really ugly if we don't move forward in a proper manner, in a legal manner. I can't imagine why a mayor of a city and a city councilman are willing to break the law. That's not a good example to our children. By the way, thank you too. But thank you, the mayor, the councilman, and you two both. You all putting in a whole bunch of your life into serving this city. It's really appreciated, And You understand your retirement, you put in, what, 25 years serving this city.
About 40 years now. with
40
both of you
years
guys,
now.
between the
I wasn't here then.
Planning Commission and City Council.
But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for saying thank you to me.
Thank you, Mr. Bickle.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sean, please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Sean Tenenbaum, Superintendent for San Benito High School District. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you this evening. At this time, the district is exploring every option available to obtain funding for a future high school site. We have spoken with Hugh Bickle of Stonebridge Homes and believe he supports and understands the future needs of the district. We appreciate that conversation greatly. We look forward to scheduling a meeting to further our partnership for the benefit of the community. At this time, the district is not requesting that you postpone the action before you this evening. We look forward to working with the city and the development community, in particular Hugh Bickle, to locate an acceptable school site and obtain additional funding to provide a future high school facilities that will meet the needs of our growing community. Really appreciated the conversation with Mr. Bickle today, and thank you so much for consideration.
Really quick, Mr. Tenenbaum, I can ask you a question if you're still on. Is he still on? Sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tenenbaum, I'm curious, how much does a new high school cost to build?
Can you hear me okay, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I can. How much does a new high school cost to build?
It just depends on the size and the capacity. It could go anywhere from, less than 100 million to 100.5 to a couple $100 million. It depends on the student capacity, the acreage, the amenities, et cetera. So there's a pretty broad range.
And you're currently almost tapped out as far as the number of students at your school?
We're near capacity, yes.
And how much do you have now collected in impact fees to build a new high school?
Not, to build a new high school, nowhere near.
How much is nowhere near?
Significantly. If we're looking at a 1,200 student high school to 1,400 student high school, Mr. Mayor, we're looking at well over 100 million.
Right, but how much do you have in impact fees collected right now to build that high school?
Less than 5 million.
Less than 5 million. So even if it's $100 million high school, we'd have to tax our citizens $95 million to build that school?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Just wanted to know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
I have a comment since you did it within public.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, did you miss the part where the school directly negotiates with the developer? The city's not involved in negotiating the school impact fees.
I'm just curious. I was just asking a question. Just curious how much it's going to cost the taxpayers.
There's a lot of things that factor into funding a high school, and it's not just local impact fees from the city of Hollister. Certainly, you'll acknowledge that it's a regional issue. So there's factors, and there's also school bonds. It's unfortunate that they bond themselves out of the market. All right. So again, the city does not negotiate with the school district. The school district under state law negotiates directly with the developer. That way the city is not involved in that part of it. Nobody said the city of Hollister was going to be able to fund a high school all by itself in the city limits, and we're not going to get anything done with your stance on growth. So I don't understand your comment.
I'm just curious on how much will need to be raised from taxpayers to pay for a new high school. So it's clearly somewhere between $100 to $150 million from what I heard. Just curious. Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments?
We do have more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm for rebuilding schools for this project. But for fact is, like Measure and all the other measures, right? I'm saying they should have like a website. You can go wix.com to create a website, that's network skills. We have to be more open for the people. If you want, I know Dr. Francisco send out ballot for schools. How much money have we?
Sorry, this is about annexing a property, not about the schools. Ask the question. Go ahead, did you have a comment about this? Go ahead.
I already touched on school at $100 million. But we do need schools. I know the tax and all tax, but I'm for this project because I know Mr. Pickle or the guy before wanted to meet kind of means. So thank you. But opposed raising taxes.
I'm sorry. Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
I'm opposed raising taxes.
You're opposed to raising taxes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Peter Hernandez. Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I actually wasn't even considering speaking on this, but listening and paying attention to the presentation, it was really hard to digest because pretty much, I mean, this is, and first I want to say with full respect for the mayor, for Councilman Resendez, for Councilman Spencer and Councilman Lenore, and I respect what you said, Councilman Lenore, but I don't know how much longer we can allow the state to pretty much thumb their noses at us and telling us what to do, how to do it, and crushing our community. I'm very much about development that's going to produce revenue, business. I'm very much commercial development, but the fact that we would even pretty much set aside the issues of having the taxpayer front money with new developments of schools, there's a lot at stake here. And the idea that we pretty much have to just kowtow to the state is just really heavy. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. To a certain extent, I feel like the state has done so much to destroy our communities. I feel like at a certain point, I don't know when the local leaders are going to just throw their hands up and say, we can't keep doing this. We got to direct our own ship and understand what it means to allow developments that pay for themselves, that ultimately have results, so that we know that when there's issues with our roads, we're not somehow trying to come up with an excuse basically to the public, say we can't afford this. Well, or sorry, but we didn't have enough impact fees to deal with the roads. I mean, we're dealing literally, on the county side, there's situations where we have SB1 funds that are formulated a certain way that's supposed to give us ultimately the funds to be able to support our own roads. And then go figure, there's talks from the assembly and the state now changing that formula, taking away from the small rural communities and basically giving it to other larger, jurisdictions so that way they can somehow make sure that they get their votes in come election time. And then the small communities are out. They're out those resources. They're out those funds. They're out the ability to pretty much manage their own issues. And it's funny because ultimately, all I'm saying is at a certain point, we have to make the argument that if you're not going to help the state, then fine, just leave us alone. Let us manage our own course. And yeah, if a housing development can show that it's going to help our community, then awesome, I'm all for it. But to allow developments when we know that our roads are broken, when there's a lot of issues in our community, it makes no sense to me to just say yes. And the idea that we could just say, well, the state said, so we just got to do it. I think that's part of the problem because that's systemic. That's every community. They all say the same thing. And I feel like at what point do we just lead and say, no, we can't keep doing this. It makes no sense. We have to just do something. Maybe it's us suing the state. It might be a small fish in a big pond, but at least we made a stance and at least other people are paying attention. And who knows, maybe the electorate will finally stand up and say, yeah, we can't keep doing this. I'm trying to be consistent. And ultimately, I feel like there's too much inconsistencies with saying, let's just allow development, even if it hurts our community, even if it doesn't give us the funds that we need to support our community. It makes no sense to me. Those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any other
Supervisor
speaker
Hernandez.
cards? Do we have any other speaker cards?
We do. One more speaker, Salvador Mora. Sal, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Just like to again, maybe inform the community, and there's a previous speaker who just spoke, Council Board Supervisor Hernandez, that I don't know if you listened in the last City Council meeting, but I also mentioned what the penalty is if the City of Hollister violates this law. This isn't a guideline. This is actual law. It's AB 330. There was case law. There was a court challenge to Governor Brown's Housing Act. Unfortunately, the city or county that sued lost. Then when Governor Newsom came into office, he, and with the legislature passing SB 330 and AB 101, they took the court's findings and fees, penalties for cities and counties that do not move forward with approved projects. So there isn't a lawsuit that will occur from the state. They will impose fees, and they will also appoint somebody to ensure that the projects get continued, whether we like them or not, and they will get done. The city will have to, the taxpayers will have to cover the fees, not the mayor or council member Resendez. The taxpayers' money is going to go to this, and the project is going to continue. Now, I would like, hopefully, our city attorney Epperson can answer the question that council member Resendez asked him last city council meeting, which I was a little disappointed he couldn't answer, is to answer the question of what will the fines and fees be from the state of California. It's very clear in the law. You look it up, you can Google it. Very easy. It's not a lawsuit. These are fines and fees that will be imposed. So I do not agree with the state telling us what to do. Unfortunately, it would be irresponsible and reckless for the city to file a lawsuit when there is previous case law. This is a losing battle. All we're going to do is waste our taxpayers' money, and the project will go forward no matter what. And again, we'll be short funds. So I do empathize with Board of Supervisor Hernandez. I don't disagree with him, but unfortunately, this is a law that was passed legally. And if the city decides to not go forward with it, there's heavy fees. And I am not willing, and I would not like our city council or mayor to put our taxpayer, our hard-earned money, and just waste it to take a stand or win votes.
So thank you. So in other words, you're for it. Thank you very much. Any other speakers?
I have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there a motion?
I have a
No,
comment.
I'm sorry, we have one more speaker.
I'd like to comment.
Elia Salinas.
Oh, okay. One more speaker. Yeah, I'm after you.
Thank you. So this is a project that should have happened a long time ago. And I know that Councilman Lenore does not like to be threatened with lawsuits. Totally get it. Nobody wants to be threatened with lawsuits. But rules are rules and laws are laws. And unfortunately, this is where we are because we are so far behind, and we need to come up to state standards. Now, I remember specifically asking Sean Tenenbaum at a meeting when he was advocating for Measure L funds, and the money was going to go to the high school. And I asked specifically about the number of students and do we not need a new high school? And he said, no, we got plenty of room. Our classes are empty. So I was against Measure L because they have a great sports program. They have a new football field. They got a $65 million swimming pool that only less than 100 students. And right now we're in COVID, no one's using that pool. Tenenbaum has been around long enough to know if we needed a new high school, $65 million should not have gone to a swimming pool. The letter he sent to the city via Christine, it said $123 million. I guarantee you, neither Gavilan College nor the school district can ask and get a yes from any voter in San Benito County or the city of Hollister because they're tired of paying bonds. And it goes for decades. It's not for a short period of time. I agree with Peter Hernandez, who's speaking as a citizen and not as a supervisor, that we do have SB1 money that's going down south, and it's going up north, and it's going to counties that are larger than us. And I've said time and time again, we need to be the squeaky wheel in Sacramento so we can get those funds here. We also asked for the citizens for Measure G. So we're getting that money. We're not here for new school. We're not here for new bonds. You are here tonight to make the right decision for your constituents and not get the city of Hollister involved in a lawsuit. We know what happened with the 400 block. It was delayed and delayed and delayed, and it cost us a lot of money to be right exactly where we were supposed to be on day one. Do not let this property that Mr. Bickle has bring forward to do the same thing and cost us a lot of money. Thank you.
Just quick clarifications, the swimming pool is open and it did not cost $65 million to build that swimming pool. Just want to let the public know the factual information. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Is that it?
I have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, council members, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, what did the pool cost?
I have no idea. I don't have it with me. I know it wasn't 65 million.
Okay,
And I know it's open. I know it is open today.
I realize that you're commenting from the private citizen. I gotta tell you, it's hard for me not to remember that you're my county supervisor. You seem to object to growth. I guess you better look in your own backyard. I gotta tell you, when I get done with this council, I'm gonna have a lot of comment on what's going on in our sphere of influence and the outlying areas of the county. I just can't say it now. But if you're gonna shovel that over here to the city, look in your own backyard. You guys are rampant and you're going for it. And people are confusing your development with ours. I gotta tell you, if we don't build one more house, the high school's still in a pickle. They're in a pickle. And I would imagine they're receiving a lot of pressure from the parents for the last decade to build a new high school. A decade or more. They don't have enough room for all those kids that want to be on a team. I know there's been immense pressure to the trustees to build a second high school. Now you want to talk about it because your bond didn't pass? I think that you should go to the drawing board, realize the benefit you have of partnering with developers that give you land. They give you land to build your schools as part of mitigation for that. Man, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty impressed with Santana Ranch. That's the kind of thing you can partner with a developer to get done. So please try not to make the developer the enemy. You need that high school done a long time ago. So let's work together cumulatively to get that impact fee up and see what other funding you can get on the state, because the voters are done. See what you can get on the state level and partner with the developers and try to plan a high school that's maybe not so extravagant. And I appreciate your comments tonight, Dr. Tenenbaum. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2020-163 as stated.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Motion does not carry. We'll move to item F4.
Good evening again. Thank you. This is Eva with the Planning Department. Item F4 is a resolution to initiate LAFCO proceedings and to allow staff to submit an application for the annexation of the property that we were just discussing on Buena Vista, the Ludel property. At this time, with the previous item being continued by tie motion to the next meeting, we as staff would recommend that this item be continued to the next meeting to follow that item. So not a recommendation for adoption tonight without an annexation agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers on this item? No speakers. Is there any questions or comments from council? Is there a motion to continue this item?
I do have Christine's hand up to speak, but she did go 6 minutes on the last one.
Right, she went right.
Wait a minute. Do a continuance, that's not with no action.
Should I go ahead and
So
give
we
her a
don't have
free?
the continuance.
No.
Is that what?
I did reset the timer for her on F3.
Right, two. I have a question for the city attorney. What's the difference between the previous no action, and then what's the consequences of a continuance here and not a no action?
It would be if there is a vote and it fails, it'd be a failure and it shouldn't come back. So given that it's so dependent on the last one, I would suggest that you actually open it and take a vote on it, under the assumption that it's going to proceed to perhaps we'll proceed to the next meeting.
Thank you.
And then after the question, Christine, she had 10 seconds left.
Okay.
I could not hear that.
She had 10 seconds left on her timer from last time. So go ahead, Christine.
Thank you. I wanted to clarify that as well. I wanted to keep both of the items moving forward, even if it's a continuance. So if your city attorney recommends a vote on this as well, we would ask for that. We want them to stay tied together, and we want to move the annexation proceeding forward.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Is there a motion from the council?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2020-164 as stated.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Against? Aye.
Aye.
Motion is not carried. We are going to move to item F5.
Thank you again. This is item F5 is for an out of jurisdiction sewer request. You did hear this item at the August 3rd City Council meeting. The properties in question are located on Hillcrest Road and Los Altos Drive. On August 3rd, we received a request from our applicant to withdraw the item until further notice. I believe that they're going to look into possibly some changes and then resubmit to the city. The item was continued by a tie vote on the motion. So at this time, we would like to again request that the item be withdrawn on behalf of the applicant's request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards, Mr. Mayor.
Any comments or questions from council?
What? You have to abstain. So okay. No questions.
Is there a motion?
I abstain from the vote on this agenda item.
Okay, well, you need to remove yourself from the chamber if you're abstaining from an item.
And probably tell us why you're abstaining.
Recommendation? All right.
Should be on for 10 seconds.
That's what the applicant wants.
To the top.
The applicant is requesting withdrawal.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to draw item resolution number 2020-165.
There's a motion. That's correct. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Is it not just a consensus to continue an item? Or is it a
it's a motion to withdraw. That's what they requested.
okay, motion to withdraw or continue withdraw?
According to
withdraw.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that.
There's a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. We'll move to item F6. Bring back Councilmember Spencer.
We're ready, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's move to item F6.
Item F6 is our biannual review of our conflict of interest code. The attached list on the staff report has been reviewed by Human Resources and changes have been made. And I'm just requesting that we adopt those positions as 700 conflict of interest filers and adopt the resolution.
Is there any questions from council?
No.
Do we have any speaker cards on this?
No, Mr. Mayor?
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2020-166 as stated.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Sorry, I think I heard a second. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion carries 4-0. We'll move to item F7.
Good evening, council. This is Jamila Sasa, the Housing Programs Coordinator. Can you hear me all okay? I know last time my voice was a little
No, we can't hear you very well.
Really bad.
Try again.
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Nope.
All garbled.
Jamila, do you have it on your computer and your phone?
No, just the computer.
You want to try
Logging out and coming back in?
back in?
Yes.
If that doesn't work, maybe you could just call in on the Zoom line, Jamila.
Yeah, I'm gonna try calling in too if it doesn't work. Thank you. 1 second.
We'll wait for you. Thank you.
I've tried logging back onto my computer. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You sound great. You don't sound like Iron Man any longer, so that's good.
Oh, that's a bummer. That sounds kind of cool. Well, good evening, council. Again, this is Jamila Saka, the Housing Programs Coordinator. Tonight, I am presenting a resolution, an MOU related to the grant application through the Community Development Block Grant Response Round 1. This funding was made available through the coronavirus or the CARES Act. That was signed into law March 27, 2020. The city of Hollister is eligible to $151,177, and based on eligible activities, the city is seeking to apply for rental and utility assistance. The city of Hollister also began working with the city of San Juan Bautista and San Benito County to develop a singular grant application. The goal of the joint grant application is to combine our resources, time, and knowledge to ensure the public receives assistance through a streamlined singular access point. As a requirement of the grant application, a public hearing was conducted via Zoom on August 6th from 4 to 5 p.m. All 3 jurisdictions conducted the public hearing together, and the number of participants, including staff, was approximately 27 individuals. During the public hearing, staff gave a summary of the grant options and illustrated the goal to use the funding for rental and utility assistance. Members of the public were able to voice their questions, comments, and concerns related to the grant application and use of funding. The individuals who attended the meeting voiced their support for rental assistance. Along with the grant application, you will also notice an attached MOU. The MOU is between all 3 jurisdictions, City of Hollister, San Benito County, and City of San Juan Bautista. We are all seeking to apply through one application for the same activities, and we intend to share the responsibilities of the program. It's important to note that this is not a competitive grant process, so according to the state, the application, if everything is all material provided, we will be approved on a rolling basis. This means as reviewed and found eligible, we will receive the grant funding shortly after. Staff recommends approval of the resolution and MOU to allow the City of Hollister to complete a joint application with the City of San Juan Bautista and San Benito County to provide rental and utility assistance for households directly impacted by COVID. The application is due by August 31st, but we are anticipating completing it before the deadline. Are there any other questions or comments?
Are there any questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion from council?
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2020-167 as stated.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. 4-0. We'll move to item G1, reports from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Lenore.
Okay, I did attend an AMBAG meeting since our last meeting, and where they discussed the amended regional growth forecast. I'll be meeting with them with planning staff as to try to clarify some of the growth forecast and the methodology for getting to the forecast, because I'm interested in the stuff. Also, it's interesting when you go over to the Bay over there. They have discussions, and it's so much different than our discussions, because I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed AMBAG. I want to thank the mayor for placing me on AMBAG, because they don't just watch transportation issues, and it's all kinds of forms of transportation issues. It's train, it's mass transit, and the buses, it's cars, it's highways, it's railroads that are feeling rise in sea level. So they discuss a lot of interesting things. But what I didn't realize was they also watch everything inside the ocean. So they're looking at temporary reefs, and they have some difference of opinions when it comes to dredged materials. And I sense that it was a bit of a hot point for them, although they conduct themselves very professionally. I'm so proud to be part of that. And but they do have a little bit of difference of opinion where the dredged materials should land over there, whether it's only in the sanctuary or outside. And the AMBAG's recommendation is to let the dredged material also serve some of the areas that need that recreation. The sand, the sea level, and the erosion is really going after, and has for quite some time, the coastal over here, our neighbors. And so they're trying to get that sand built back up. But they have some difference of opinions, and I'm sure that they'll solve those. But I found it all very interesting. And again, it's been one of my pleasurable things is to serve on the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments. Also, I'm very intrigued with how they get our growth forecast. I'm very intrigued how they work with our local COG office. So I look forward to following them just a little bit longer. Marty Richmond said to me, we really need to be spot on with those growth forecasts, and that he felt like the last ones weren't quite right because we have such a high base that commutes, because they bring their numbers on 3 items. That's housing, employment, and population. And everybody knows we have a large commuter base. So I wanted to ask them, how do they get to that number? So I will be meeting and hopefully bring some more information to you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity. And I also had a water resource committee meeting. They are still doing their education as far as water softeners and water usage. Sean Novak, as you know, is just a great water conservation manager. But the COVID has hampered their ability a little bit to obviously get to the schools because the kids aren't there. And he's really big on educating them at a young age. So as soon as they can restart that. Also, they'll start with their big report on the groundwater management. And that's something that has to be done, I think, 4 or 5 years, every 4 or 5 years. That's coming, and it's a biggie. I think that I won't have enough time so that hopefully the city will get somebody in there that can participate on that very important plan. Because again, the number 1 resource is water. Thank you so much for the opportunity to relay my committee discussion.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Vice Mayor Spencer.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Resendez.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to report from our COG meeting. We had a special COG meeting a few days ago, and it was probably one of the most important meetings we've had because it concerns the widening of Highway 25, the value analysis that was done by a group of engineers that came together over several days. I also participated in, made their recommendations on how we can finally widen Highway 25. Background story on this is there's a lot of conversations about why haven't we done Highway 25 in the past, and money was misdirected and so on and so on. All rumors, of course. The reality was very simple. There was never money to widen Highway 25 because of the incredible cost. Early on in this process, when I pushed for the widening Highway 25, we had many, many conversations about the cost would be. Several people at the time thought it would be no more than $50 million. And I kept pointing out that it would be a $300 million project plus because of bonding issues with that. Well, the value engineers came in to look at this because when the first proposal was presented, the cost came in at over $340 million. And being that we only have $240 million to spend on the highway, the engineers came back to figure out a way to make this thing work, change the plans a bit. And they presented several different options. They gave us 6 options. Really, of those 6, only 2 widen the highway from San Felipe to the county line. There are 4 options they did present. A couple of them are just basically what you would call phasing options. One would be the phasing of just the overpass or interchange at 25-156, which is a $40 million project in itself. The other is only doing a portion of highway from San Felipe to the 156. The other 2 are the ones we will probably be looking at here. We're going to be discussing it in another special meeting. But I am pleased to say that those 2 other options came in under the, right at one at 241 and the other one at about 190 or a little less than that. So it was a great job by everybody. Exciting. It is finally going to happen. No doubt about it. A lot of work to do on this, but it does prove what happens when we all work together. This is something that was stalled for quite a while, and we all came together. So I want to give all those COG members a big thank you for working so hard. That would be Mayor Edge, San Juan Bautista, Supervisor Hernandez, Supervisor Dela Cruz, Councilmember Resendez. It took a lot of hard work to get us here in this last year, and we finally did it. And I'm going to be excited to come back in another few weeks to tell you what that final decision is, so that we can get started on the next phase of this, the environmental portion, to get moving on the widening Highway 25. So very exciting news, very exciting. The other news that's happening through COG was also the no left turn onto Highway 25 from the Balsa. That should have started today. So I want to remind everybody, please do not turn left onto Highway 25 south from Balsa south. It's very dangerous, and that's why the restrictions are there during the week, the commute hours from 3 to 7. And I also want to remind everybody, please do not stop on the southbound off-ramp from the 101 to the 25 at the top of the bridge there. Continue making your left turn. It is very dangerous to stop there, and it creates a backup in traffic. So we're doing a lot of good things. Good things are happening. Next step is to do the off-ramp improvements on that intersection also, and that's going to be happening in the next year or 2. Santa Clara County is in charge of it, but all these good things are happening, again, because partners are working together. So very exciting news. We're going to move on now to informational reports from council. Councilmember Lenore.
I do want to reiterate the left turn off of the old Balsa. And probably don't try to find a way around it like my husband. We had a lively discussion today. I was trying to get him to go a different route. And it is dangerous. So I hope the people heed the mayor's advice and just try to comply. You're going to get a ticket. Nobody wants that for you. Also, I want to bring up the recycling company, Integrated Waste Management, is really recommending that you really pay attention to your recycling efforts. And they are really messed up when you put it in that dirty ketchup bottle. It stops the whole conveyor belt. It's really a cost thing for them. I started washing all my things out, ketchup bottles, cat food cans, so that nothing goes in the thing that isn't clean. It's really important. Also, they're asking you not to throw any more plastic film. So that's pretty much plastic bag or anything plastic wrap, because they're obviously, they don't have anywhere for it to all go now, and I think that's with China somehow. So they're saying to throw now. Unfortunately, it took them a while to get us to save that plastic and recycle that plastic, only to get the notice in the bill attached to it that no longer do they want any plastic wrap in the garbage, in the recycling. So for now, please try to throw that plastic, even though we don't want to, into the garbage until further notice. Let's see what else. And again, I'd like they integrated the waste management to do more pickup downtown for all of our added dining. The poor city staff, I run them ragged because I go downtown a lot, and I don't like garbage, and I don't like stained sidewalks, and I don't like this. And they get it, and they're probably, oh, she's downtown again. Because I also go to the Briggs building, and that's going to be a future discussion. The Briggs building is deteriorating right before my eyes. So I'm hoping to talk with the mayor to see, because we agree on some things, to tell him my concerns about the Briggs building and the inhabitants. And I go there at least twice a week, and it's terrible. And I'm so sad because even if they're not using it now, it's going to be used and it's falling into disrepair. So I'm hoping we'll be able to bring that forward. And the last item, I hear you, Courtney. I too want a code of ethics. I think maybe what they're saying is that we have a code of, we have rules and procedures for the council, but I wasn't aware we had a formally adopted a code of ethics. And I'm sorry if I didn't know that. Maybe I'm confusing it with the rules and procedures, but I think that Tim Burns brought a beautiful example from the city of Belmont. I read it a few times. I would have no problem agreeing to that. I think it should be brought in back. I've asked staff to draft up a code of ethics based on the city of Belmont. It's a beautiful read. I think we should commit, and the future councils should commit to that code of ethics. So I'd like to bring that forward for a public hearing, and we'll hopefully do that at the next meeting, depending on if the city manager recommends so. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Spencer.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Resendez.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. I didn't have anything to report, but since we're on the subject of the code of ethics and the code of conduct, I'm wondering what the status is of Vice Mayor Honor Spencer paying back the money for the trip to Washington, D.C. Can we get an update on that or have an agenda item to have that discussed at the next item? I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I do want to remind everyone, as everyone knows today, school started for most of our students. High school started a few days, on Thursday last week. Everyone, please, it's going to be hard for all of us. I'm asking everybody, please be patient with the teachers, the administrators. It is tough to make this new world happen. I know they're working so hard to do it, and I know we can do it together. Even my kids had some issues with signing up today, getting online. So it's going to be rough. Let's give them a good week. Let's support each other. We'll get through this together. And thank you again to everybody out there wearing your face covers to fight this COVID. Our numbers are still high, but we are seeing the numbers come down a bit, and we'll have a better idea this week. So please, everybody, keep it up. Let's stay safe. City Manager.
Yes, I've got a few items. I'd like you citizens to know that your rec department is working on a movies night that will include social distancing. We hope to have something out real soon on that one. The second item is the chip seal. We're asking the public to be very patient. We are working out with the contractors to correct some of the issues that we've had with the chip seal. And we just ask that you give us, hopefully, within a week to have a solution. That's it. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, chips?
Chip seal.
Chip seal.
CHIPS?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the road construction that was done downtown, sorry.
Before they do the overlay. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No statement.
Interim Chief,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No statement.
City Clerk,
I did want to let you know that I sent you all out an email for the League of California Cities 2020 Annual Conference and Expo. And I wanted you all to know that it's a virtual conference. I believe it's only $50 for the entire 3 days, but that's a long time to be on. I'm sure they're probably going to have some kind of sessions that make you get up and jump around or do something so you're not sitting there for an 8-hour day. And I think there's a breakout for lunch. They'll have breakout rooms for you guys to do. They'll probably do it up very, very nice. But the link is on that email for you to go ahead and sign up if that's something you're interested in. And that is where I believe we needed the voting delegate from August 3rd, so that when you attend that session, you can vote. So just a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. We're going to move to item
Mr. Mayor,
G3. Go ahead.
thing. I just want to remind our community that we have cooling stations in this heat wave at the library. So people that need to cool off should noon to 5 at the library. That's all I have.
Thank you. Item G3.
Mr. Hunter, are you there?
Hi, yes, this is J.R. Killigrew from Monterey Bay Community Power. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
Great. Well, Honorable Council of the City of Hollister, thank you so much for the opportunity to present tonight. This is as part of MBCP's commitment to connect with each one of our 32 member agencies with an annual presentation. So if you could start the slide deck, please. Excellent. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, MBCP is your local community choice energy program, and we are here to help provide you an update as to current events and accomplishments that have been happening. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that we are in incredible times as you have learned about these potential rolling blackouts. Fortunately, the California Independent Systems Operator did not have to schedule a single blackout in California today. That is a huge testament to everybody conserving. MBCP is providing a lot of live information that we get either through the California Independent Systems Operator or through PG&E. So we're sending out notifications through our newsletter, email addresses, through social media, as well as through Nextdoor. So we're really just trying to be a trusted resource to get information out to community members across the Central Coast to help conserve energy, to make sure that we don't have to go through any more rolling blackouts. But just to let you know, this is going to be going on through the rest of the week. So hopefully if the weather dissipates a little bit, we won't have to go through any of the rolling blackouts. But in any event, thank you very much for the opportunity. And if you could go to the next slide, please. So who we are, we definitely like to reconnect with each one of our city councils or board of supervisors. MBCP did start with humble roots back in 2017 when we established our Joint Powers Authority, and that consisted of the 16 cities within Santa Cruz County, San Benito, and Monterey County, as well as the 3 counties. The city of King City actually launched their own program on their own, and the city of Del Rey was the lone city that decided to not move forward. Fast forward to 2018, we actually launched service for commercial customers in March of 2018, and in July of 2018, we launched service for residential customers. And due to our great model and opportunities, we actually have expanded pretty significantly to include 6 cities within the county of San Luis Obispo and virtually all of the communities in the county of Santa Barbara, outside of the city of Santa Barbara and the city of Lompoc, which houses its own municipal utility. So right now our Joint Powers Authority comprises of 32 member agencies. So that's 28 cities and 4 counties across the Central Coast region. And we are, as I will highlight in the next slide, moving to a new name, the same great service, but we do see the opportunity to reflect a new name. I did want to highlight our governance structure. So a lot of folks wonder, what is MBCP? How does it operate? We are a joint powers authority. We have a policy board of elected officials, an operations board of city managers and county administrative officers, and then a wonderful community advisory council of volunteer community members to help provide input from the community about what MBCP is doing. Our board structure is set up that communities over 50,000 have an individual seat, and then shared seats of communities of under 50,000. And right now, as you can see, Hollister and San Juan Bautista share the San Benito city seat. Next slide. This was the big slide that I want to share with. So effective September 4th, we are becoming Central Coast Community Energy, same board structure, same services, but just a new name to reflect our expansive service area right now. We are going through a lot of different kind of media opportunities to let customers know that the name is going to be changed and that they will see a new name. But again, it's the same agency on their October and potentially November PG&E bills that will have Central Coast Community Energy electric generation charges that will replace Monterey Bay Community Power electric generation charges. Next slide. You know, it's tough to sometimes highlight accomplishments in this time, but I did want to just stress the fact that we are in very good financial position. That's going to help us pursue a credit rating, but also the fact that we're really committed to reinvest locally in the region, whether it's through contracts or opportunities. We did work with Shipper Design to help redo our website. I know that's a local business in San Benito County. And we've also kind of grown our operation such that we are hiring right now. There are some great employment opportunities at MBCP moving forward. And we do have at least contracted for $800,000. It's probably closer to $1 million of contracts with local vendors. Next slide. COVID-19, that the pandemic is first and foremost on everybody's mind. Our board acted swiftly back in April to enact our rate deferment program, which actually reduced every single customer's rate by 50% for the months of May and June. And that equated to about a little over $22 million of financial relief for all customers. So you'll see on the bullet points that, you know, we helped reduce bills by about $6.5 million for residential customers, 11 million to commercial customers, and over 5 million to agricultural customers. And we will actually, it's a rate deferment. It's not a complete reduction, that over the next 18 months, we will buy a marginal amount, just kind of bring that revenue back inside of MBCP, just so that we can continue our fiduciary responsibility to our customers and our board. Next slide. Big update on energy procurement. Here's a snapshot of the new and existing renewable energy contracts we've entered into. What that means is we've actually inked over $1.4 billion worth of contracts, and that will serve about 35% of our annual electricity supply for our customers. I bring this up because we actually are evaluating a new procurement strategy or energy supply strategy that will help actually invest more money back in the state of California to bring on new renewable energy projects. But we actually can do that more affordably than our current policy right now, or our current strategy. And we are having a wide variety of conversations with stakeholders over the next few weeks. So I will certainly circulate some information to the City Council in case they want to join this Friday's discussion with our member agencies and staff about what this means and what it's going to look like in the future. Next slide. Energy programs. This is a really great hallmark opportunity for us. We allocate about 3% of our gross revenue to focus on electrification, fuel switching, and resiliency. Some of our really great programs that we've released. One, we actually had a grant program to help support electrify affordable housing and multi-unit dwellings across the Central Coast. We actually had an oversubscription within the first day, such that we had to actually increase the amount of funds by about 10%. We released a school bus electrification program in partnership with MBARD, the Air District, and we actually are going to help support 6 school buses to become fully electric. And then most recently, we released an agricultural electrification grant program, which funding is still available for ag businesses San Benito County to really help do a market research on how ag businesses are looking to help electrify, reduce costs, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions in their operations. Next slide. Another great opportunity for our public sector, and it's starting to build up with the private sector, is our uninterruptible power supply fund. Now, this is a low-cost financing opportunity for the public sector, whether it's city or county governments, public schools, public hospitals, or public water and wastewater districts, to be able to fund a backup power supply for critical facilities in light of the public safety power shutoff. You know, we all, did experience some sense of rolling blackouts this past Friday or over the weekend. And this is another opportunity for us to provide funding for folks to be able to get that backup supply in case, the grid goes down, and you can keep those critical operations going within the public sector. Next slide. I did want to provide a quick snapshot for the city of Hollister. The city has about almost 12,000 accounts enrolled with us, has strong enrollment of just about 88%. And I did want to highlight that the city of Hollister's own municipal accounts with us have saved about $33,000 off of their PG&E bill since you enrolled service back in March of 2018. And then the community at large, all of your residents and businesses, have actually saved upwards of $700,000 since we started service back in 2018. So I did want to highlight these figures to show you that we are driving financial value to the customers that are enrolled with our service, more so than PG&E has over the last few years. Next slide. And I just wanted to wrap up that as we move towards unifying the Central Coast under this great Community Choice Energy Agency, we have set up a satellite office in San Luis Obispo to help support with outreach and customer engagement. We are setting up an annual meeting, and we certainly would love for the city of Hollister to join us next year when we set that up. As I mentioned earlier, we're moving to a new name on September 4th. But also really kind of looking at a more thoughtful and informative outreach and engagement strategy about how to inform the programs and what type of investment that's bringing back to our communities. We've also set up a bi-monthly advocacy roundtable to really kind of get down into the nitty-gritty with advocates and really discuss what's coming down the pipeline in terms of community needs and how MBCP can help inform our approaches based on that. Next slide. So on that note, I conclude my presentation. Here's some great opportunities to stay connected with us. I certainly will send a follow-up email to kind of outline what's happening in terms of the grid and to help you inform your constituents about it, but also to help sign up for our newsletter and board agenda notifications, as well as an invite to Friday's discussion about the new power strategy that we are working through all of our boards. So again, truly appreciate the opportunity to connect with you all tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions from council?
I have a comment, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I want to tell you, Mr. Killigrew, I'm very, very happy as a City of Hollister resident. I'm sorry. I want to tell you, Mr. Killigrew, I'm very happy as a resident to have your power company over here. I have an old house, and the PG&E electrical would just kill me in the summertime to the tune of $600, mostly for a little bit of air conditioning. You have been a godsend, and you answered all my questions tonight because I wanted to know how many people were enrolled in the city of Hollister. It was a little more than I guessed, so I'm really happy to see that. And then I was going to suggest maybe you take another run of that outreach to get those last people on there, the last 13%. I always say good things. People say, oh, we don't want that. I go, yes, you want that. It's more affordable. So you can let Mr. Abashi know that I'm very thankful for his leadership and appreciate it and wish you all the best. And thank you for putting this together for us, this important thing. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Council Member.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
I do have a quick question for you. Early on, when this started, the partners put in the seed money to make this all happen, and we were going to be paid back that seed money. When is that going to happen, or has it happened?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. That's a great question. So we actually, yeah, there was a line of credit or a loan that was given out back in, I think, late or 2017. And that was actually paid back within the first 6 months of operation. So by September 2018, it was paid back.
Awesome. I did not get the update, but good job. And it seems to be working, I think, much better than anybody expected. So great deal.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
All right. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor? Keith
Go ahead.
Sun? Keith, are you there? Please go ahead. Keith?
Keith, it appears that you're on mute.
Keith, on mute. Go ahead. Keith? Okay, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you for the report. We'll move now to item G4.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, we understand that at tomorrow's Board of Supervisors meeting, they're going to discuss that one part during their meeting. We believe it's during the COVID session that they're going to see if there's a general consensus for a face covering ordinance. And I am asking if I can get a consensus if the board does agree to a consensus that we would bring a face covering ordinance also to the city. So I'm trying to see if we have consensus.
Okay. Is there any questions from council?
No.
I think this conversation, city manager, has gone back and forth so many times with the county. I think it was important for all of us to partner together early on to make this happen. It didn't happen. If the county would like to do something and is willing to do something, of course, I would absolutely support it on the city side also. I think that's one of the big steps we missed early on in this. I think a lot of the citizens have been doing a great job as far as wearing face covers in public. So that has been, I think, one of the reasons that we're starting to see the numbers start going back down. I'm going to cross my fingers on that. But I'm in support of it if the county is going to commit to something and we can move forward. If they're not going to commit to something, I don't think we can have something happen in the city, not the county. We're back and forth. We're all over the place and it's confusing the public. So I think it's up to the other members of the council on how they feel. Anybody else have any comments on this?
Well, I could see why you might go that route, but if you don't mind, I'd like to see the ordinance first. They're just saying tonight they would like to present an ordinance. So I could give you a decision until I study the report and read the ordinance. Then I'll be able to answer which way I'm going to go.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you,
Do
Mr.
we
Mayor.
have? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm really not in favor of having an ordinance come back. I've got to be honest with you guys. I support wearing masks 100% without a doubt. But I just want to remind you that we did try this early on and I supported it then. I supported the ordinance, the fees, everything. And we couldn't come to an agreement. So I don't think that we're perfect, but I've got to be honest that most people are complying and the businesses and downtown and whatnot, and they're wearing masks. Yes, there's a small group encouraging people to go against what the medical professionals are telling us to do, but I don't think that's the real problem. For me, I think the families intermixing or the backyard parties seems to be quite a big problem. I'm not very happy with the lead that the county has taken on this issue. You know, they are in charge of the public health department and they want to adopt an ordinance. And I heard it was like just going to incorporate the unincorporated areas of the county. To me, that's just it's kind of an insult and kind of a joke. I think we're all responsible adults. You know, the issue's just been so polarized. It's gotten very ugly. I'm not interested in adding to that ugliness at all. I think that having people turn on their neighbors, using our city resources, it can get really ugly really quick. So at this point, I just gotten so out of hand. I do support wearing masks 100%. I think that most people are making logical decisions on how medical professionals advise us to fight a pandemic, but I'm not interested in adopting an ordinance at this time, enforcing mask and fines, and I wouldn't even entertain the idea of having that discussion here at the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Is there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Ben Coffey. Ben, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Ben?
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Wow, hello, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Supervisors. It's a pleasure. I applaud you for your stick-to-itiveness and your commitment. It's been a long night. I am not in favor of any fines or mandatory masks. I think there's a lot of people with medical conditions that would have issues complying. And I think it segregates people into two groups and it causes a lot more issues, as City Councilman Roland was saying. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Courtney Evans. Courtney, go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Perfect. I am calling in to speak for our group, #OpenSBC, that has over 800 members and growing. Every time this specific agenda item is on for our county supervisors meetings, the numbers of our community, your constituents, are calling not in favor of an ordinance or a enforcement to our citizens. I would also like to advise against who is going to be liable for if something happens. I do not require masks in my business, and I will not. There is a freedom of choice and reasons for people not wearing them that is not anybody else's business. So to enforce and divide our community even more with a mask ordinance is absurd. We have called, we've spoke, and the numbers are very clear that the public is not in favor of a mask ordinance. So I ask that we put our attention to more important things and stop trying to police the people of our community and this country. Thank you. And I'm also a little upset that this was put on the agenda so late. It's almost 9:30 and it's a very important issue. If this is an emergency, as we're still calling it 6 months later, don't you think that this should have been the first item on the agenda so that everyone in the community could have a part in the conversation? Thank you.
Keith Snow. Keith, go ahead.
Last time when I got sword thing, just give me on for the mask. The mask saves a life. COVID-19 is really next year's. Be lives lost. Even doctors, nurses, protection, safety, and that we should all recommend. I'd be quarantined. Not quarantine myself, but I go out there. But I used to have to do it like I used to with meet people and all. I stay home most likely because for a fact that your dogs can get COVID-19. This week's just been their lives are at risk. and we look more on where the cost of your life is precious. It's like sort of thing. Let me get back to the subject. You see me at sort of thing. That's a third party charge. Sparks Energy, I want to put that to you, Mr. Mayor, and City Clerk, Christy Black. So, third party charge. I'm PG the bill, and I my PG bill low. Now I've got a subject. I read miss my intelligence. When I talk, you hear me. I want you to hear this. This storage company is a third party charge. That's Sparks Energy.
This
And
is, sorry, sir. Sorry, that was the other item. This is only
I know,
about the cover. No,
skip
I'm sorry,
me,
you had
skip
the
me, Mr.
opportunity.
Mayor.
Yeah, no,
I bet you- I
this
bet
is
you-
about this item, sir.
I know,
This
but I want to pay attention. I'll let and repeat it.
Well,
doing that to me.
sorry, but that item passed already.
I know, and
Now we're
skip
talking
me
about this
on the
item.
item. I put a hand up. I
Yeah,
really
well,
appreciate
somehow
that.
we waited for you. We did not hear from
No,
you.
but you came in there.
Sir,
You
we're
know,
on
you
another
got
item.
there.
You have to speak on
I
this
know, but I
item.
got cheated on the item.
Okay, sir,
And
thank you. Mr. Snow, again, this is on this item. We can't mix items in these conversations. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Elio Salinas? Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So I'm obviously on the side of wearing masks, and I agree with Councilman Resendez that the majority of what's spreading this is the fact that large numbers are gathering. There's large numbers are gathering and they're not wearing masks. And we, the horror stories is someone knows that they're positive, but they want to go to the party and they don't tell anybody and they end up showing up and getting other people infected. I'm sorry to hear that he's not for fighting. The thing is that it's kind of weird. Humans, I don't know what makes us tick. If it's not a deterrent enough, and Councilman, Councilmember Lenore has gone through this, that she got sick. It's not something that's easy, and if the deterrent is that it's not enough for them to say you can get violently ill, but not only that, it's fatal. It can be fatal, and that's not a deterrent enough. So an ordinance with a mask, and I was in Monterey County, I was in Pacific Grove, and I was running in PG, and you have to have a mask. You can't gather, you can't even sit on the grass in Pacific Grove, Carmel, because of large crowds, and you must wear a mask. And it's as soon as you enter the city of Monterey, every single city there has got the signs that you're going to get a fine, and it's $100. I know that Velasquez, Mayor, you came up with an ordinance. I don't know how you came up with an ordinance and it was written when it didn't come before the council. Maybe it was because you were under this emergency and that's how you directed council or the staff to write the ordinance. I, at the time, did not feel that it was well written. It was not well thought out, and it was $1,000 fine. My argument was that you wanted a mask ordinance, but you didn't want to give the masks out. The people had to go out and get the masks. The county came up with a mask ordinance. They gave out the masks for free. Now we have an ordinance with the county, and they're saying it's $100 fine, and it adds up. So I believe that it's well written. I would like to see a couple of the council members get together with the Board of Supervisors and come up with something together so it's enforced like it is in Monterey County. It's Monterey County and it's cities in Monterey County. You do not have to reinvent the wheel, be able to work together and get something done. The numbers are not decreasing. The numbers are actually increasing. We have 10 in the hospital today, 2 that are in ICU. We had 3 in ICU last week and that's gone. That's about the only thing that's gone down. So please reconsider working together with the county to come up with something.
Thank you. Just go ahead.
I just want to say that we have an 8% positivity rate. That says it all. Don't look at so much the numbers. Look at the positivity rate. We are going backwards. You are not gonna kick this thing without high of a positivity rate. I'm not saying anything yet about which way I'm gonna go. But you see, I got the mask on and I had the COVID. And here's what scared me about the COVID. I don't wanna ever have to think that I might give it to somebody else. I stress more hard on that than having the COVID. I don't know what folks don't get. You wanna be responsible for a family member dying? I don't. So we'll discuss it at a future meeting.
Okay, was there any other speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Let me just, before we go there, let me make sure we clarify something. I think the speaker said we were going to charge $1,000 fine. That's absolutely untrue. That was never the fine. It was up to, and that was still to be worked out for the first fine, second fine, third fine. So that's completely untrue. We've tried many times to work together with different partners. It's a shame it couldn't happen at the time. I remember that person being against it for whatever reason, but we need to keep working together as a community to at least slow this or continue to slow this virus down. It's going to be a lot of work from a lot of people. And I'm disappointed to hear a business owner make the comment that their customers, their business does not wear face covers and they don't think of it as a big deal. It is a big deal. And it's sad when somebody can put the life of one of their customers at risk. Go on to the next person, please.
Jessa Frazier? Jessa?
Yes, I'm here.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
My name is Jessa Fraser. I've lived in Hollister for about 7 years, and it's been interesting to get to know the community, but I have to say, I cannot believe that this would actually be something that you would be fining people for. I am firmly against fining citizens for not wearing a face covering. At this time, going around and looking through stores, I am not seeing anyone without a face covering. It's now nearly 100% compliance in every store I've been to locally. And my big concern on this one is, how do you monitor this? Once you begin to put in your code enforcement, you're using city finances to do code enforcement. Are you going to be testing the material, the thickness, how many layers? Are you going to be testing the fit of a face mask, how it's worn? If it falls down below a nose, do you have 3 seconds to pull it back up before you get fined? Has this all been thought out? Because these are concerns that need to be addressed. Are you going to intend to extend this and fine people for not wearing masks inside their homes, which has come up this week across the country in various cities? What about those that are medically unable? Those with a breathing difficulty or a mental health disorder and panic issues? What is going to be the workaround or the ability to work with and support those with mental disabilities? And if not, I would caution that opens the city up to high lawsuits, and that needs to be addressed before a lawsuit is brought against the city. We don't have the money for that, from what I'm hearing. And have you thought about an N95 mask being worn? Because my mom was actually told she couldn't wear one into an office, and she is at one of the highest risks of contracting this virus. And that the N95 mask would be protecting her, but she's not allowed to protect herself because she was irresponsible to protect other younger, healthier people. Are we going to find those who refuse to stay socially distanced? Because since people started wearing masks, now they are walking so close to me that although I will go out and around and attempt to give that social distance, no one else is respecting that. This is unfounded scientific guess that these masks are affecting the great help. We hope, we think that they help some, but even Dr. Fauci admitted that a double-blind study would not be ethical now to have people not wearing it and hoping that they get the virus to prove that masks cover, that they work to the degree that we hope. I'm also wondering if we really want to violate personal freedom to this level, to the fact that you are no longer allowed to care for your own health, that you are now expected, if you step outside your house, to cover your face. I cannot understand why you would choose to violate the personal autonomy of your citizens over this. Let's think it through before we put on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I continue, someone who's already spoken has got his hand raised again. You're able to speak once on each issue. So if we're not calling on you, that's why. Our last speaker is Sal Mora.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I'd like to say that I do wear a facial covering when I visit, when I go to businesses. Doesn't matter what type of business is, I just choose to wear it. Mostly because, I see the signs outside the door, so I'm not going to give the business owner a hard time. I don't care to wear them, but I'm not going to give the business owner grief. If I choose to frequent an establishment that does not require facial coverings, that's my choice, and I believe that's every individual person's choice to make. When I go shopping, doesn't matter which of the grocery stores I go into, I go to Target, I go downtown to restaurants, I see people wearing the facial coverings. Very rarely do I see someone not. So I get a firsthand experience of noticing that most of the community is wearing some sort of facial covering. I do not agree with fining our citizens over this facial covering issue. If you do some research, this is an issue a century ago, and it's an issue today. I'm not for it. I think people can take their responsibility in their own hands and make their own choices. For us to police this, we don't have the resources. It just doesn't make sense. We're going to turn neighbors against each other. It's already ugly as it is. People are disrespecting each other. People on both sides. People that I have friends on both sides, and it's not nice. And I don't think we should be adding to this. And especially not to, if the city is going to go forward, definitely do not go and try to revisit the earlier ordinance proposition, where we're finding people up to $1,000 and or jail time, which is ridiculous. When we're releasing prisoners from our jails, to even consider sending someone to jail for violating an ordinance, facial coverage is ridiculous. Again, I just hope that we do the right thing. People are responsible. Yes, I understand our numbers are going up, but there's certain reasons for that. Stay away from those large gatherings, and we'll probably be getting better. But I'm not a big believer in, government telling us what to do. But, especially we have the opportunity where we're not being forced to, it's not a law to do this. I don't think we should be creating ordinances that restrict our freedoms. Thank you.
I have one more. Peter Hernandez. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and City Council, Sharon, as a resident of San Benito County, even as a business owner who's seen the elements of what it means for the public ultimately to be not only the majority of, most folks fully compliant. If there's ever any issue, it's usually out of, oh, I forgot my mask, or it's something completely unintentional. If you think about it, I mean, we are technically in an opportunity as local leaders to a certain extent to direct the conversation, to unite our community, not to divide it. Right now, we're literally, the stage has been set, and I keep questioning a lot. What is the intent of this governor and the state when they botch rules left and right? I mean, to a certain extent, public health is picking up the pieces, and I feel bad for public health because I know they're doing the best that they can to implement rules that really change every other day. From indoors to be shut down, and then all of a sudden it's outdoors, and all of a sudden it's shut down again, depending on the industry. Now it's churches aren't open. There's a lot of issues that we're dealing with mental health, with suicide. There was a friend actually of the family that committed suicide through this, literally in the middle of this, and because of COVID. And I can speak to that. And it's funny because we speak to a lot of the numbers when it comes to, and I get it, positivity rate, it's technically all it is a simple math. It's how many people got sick in that day and how many people tested positive of that. I think it basically distorts the actual reality because it completely excludes those that still were potentially at risk which is basically the folks that didn't get this virus. So it changes the perspective. It divides community. You have folks that are basically policing each other, like the previous speaker mentioned. I've, as a business owner, I talk to plenty of other business owners who are very frustrated, who are very much about being compliant. And they're saying, Peter, I'm trying to do the right thing. And they don't get it. Why all of a sudden they have a customer literally yelling at them when one person walked in and they didn't see that they didn't have a mask. And somehow, they're supposed to basically go after these people. And if the business owner doesn't go after them, then that customer is going to go after them. I guarantee all it's going to do is going to divide our community. To a certain extent, I feel like all it's going to do is weaponize the community, because they're going to have a reason. They're going to say, oh, I can get someone fined $100. That'll get them. So we can go ahead and go after them. If the majority of the public was not adhering to the masks and all that stuff, even the folks that don't agree with the mask will say, you know what, I'll just stay away from you, right? Because they don't want to deal with the issue. They might not have a mask on, but they'll keep their distance. And the doctor, to reiterate, ultimately, the doctor has always said that priority one is social distancing, not a mask. A mask is only secondary. Its intent is to say when you can't social distance, then the mask comes into the equation. I just talked to public health about this, and they reiterate, yes, social distancing is your number one. So what's the purpose of a mask order when it's going to do nothing besides divide the community, fine people, and even possibly businesses for someone going after them or something? There's plenty of businesses, again, that are telling me they're being called on. There's a report now being put out about all these phone calls, and my business was even called on when I did nothing wrong. I don't like the rules. It's been pretty public. I disagree with them, but nonetheless, my staff is wearing masks. They're doing the best that they can. I have all the signage. I followed all the rules, but it doesn't matter. There's, at the end of the day, those that are fearful are going to use this as a tool, and I don't think that's fair to the general public. We need to come up with tools as leaders to unite our community, not to divide it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments or questions from council?
I do feel like I need to clarify
Hello?
something. Yes, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to clarify my points. Thank you. I want to make it clear that I'm 100% for wearing masks. I've got to make that clear. My concern is the lack of resources, the division, and how are we going to implement this? That's what bothers me. I've got to be honest, I was very shocked and taken aback to hear the local business owner and a person that's running for local office admit to being against wearing masks or calling for people not to wear masks. I personally feel that's highly irresponsible, scary, and sad. I'll be real honest with you. It makes me very uncomfortable. But my question to our staff is, what are we doing? Somebody just said that they're not enforcing in their business, which resides within our city. What are we doing as a city to enforce that part of it? What are we doing? What is the county doing to enforce that part of it? I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, if we're not even doing anything about that part, how are we going to enforce it on a bigger scale? That really does concern me. I don't know if it's something that we should be taking on at this point. It's gotten very ugly, very political, and I just hope that people will make better choices, and they'll be responsible and listen to the medical, people that are advising us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council? I'll make one last statement, and I want to be perfectly clear too. I've been promoting the face covers since the very beginning. And I pointed out, if we do this, we can slow this virus, so we can control this virus. If we can control this virus, we can get ourselves reopened. We lost a major opportunity in April 10th, as a matter of fact, to do that. To hear people still purposely misleading the public by saying there was a $1,000 fine in jail, when they absolutely know that it's absolutely not true, is disappointing. And then to hear them say, I don't think they're good, I don't wear them, I won't wear them in my business, I don't require my business, the public, to wear them, is the exact reason that we are still closed in a lot of places. And it's a shame. When will we learn to work together to protect each other by the simple action of wearing a face cover to help each other and get through this? because until this virus is gone, no matter what we do, businesses are going to be slow and they're going to be hurting. And it's disappointing that the choice we made was based on people that were misleading the public. Of course, face covers make a difference. Of course, social distancing makes a difference. And of course, washing our hands make a difference. It's a combination of all those factors that can beat this virus. This virus cannot survive if it can't jump to the next person. It's what I've been saying over and over. We've heard every story out there. The heat will kill this. This is a hoax. No big deal. Face covers do nothing. On and on and on. And here we are 6 months later, still dealing with the virus that we could have beat within a month had we all chosen just to work together and do something so simple as wearing a face cover. I'm always in favor of wearing a face cover. It's a shame we can't get there now for all these reasons I mentioned earlier and all these complaints we're hearing. It's a shame we can't work together to protect each other. And that's where we're at, unfortunately, as a society. So, City Manager, I don't hear a consensus as far as moving forward because I quite frankly don't believe the county is going to be able to pass an ordinance. And if they're not going to be able to pass it, how in the world are we going to be able to pass it or enforce it? That's just the reality now. And that's what I see happening. So I don't think you have the consensus unless I'm hearing three council members say something different.
I just thought we were here to discuss the opportunity that we were going to back an ordinance.
No, it was to pass, if we were in consensus, to have the city manager forward that to the county. So if they pass it, we would work with them on the ordinance together. But if we don't have a consensus, he'd have to report back to the county that there is not a consensus at the city to move forward.
I certainly won't support that at this time.
Thank you, sir.
Recommendation is that staff is seeking consensus and direction from council. To move forward with an introduction of a face covering administrative fine ordinance on September 8th.
Introduction of an ordinance. That's when you vote on it, after you review the ordinance.
Right, but we have to have a consensus to move forward on it, Councilmember Lenore.
Yeah, I understand that. So I'm with you. I'd like the chance to consider an ordinance.
So would I. And we have two at this point. Is Councilmember Spencer in favor of considering an ordinance?
Whatever you guys want.
Yes, I would like to work things out. I'd like to know how it's going to be done and who's going to enforce it. I don't like the fines, period. But yeah, we could talk about this and work something out with the county.
Well, let's be clear though, there will be fines if something does pass. So if you're not in favor of that, it's better to say that now than to get to the point of working on something and not passing anything.
Ignacio, if we work with the county, we can talk about the fines. They don't have to be 100, 200, 500. We can go further or just make it a $100 fine. Like
okay, no, I just want to make sure clear that there will be fines involved. So if I hear from you saying yes, then there will be a consensus tonight.
There is a consensus. I'm interested in information from Monterey County on the program and how they're implementing. So I am
Thank you. Okay, thank you guys. So sounds like there is a consensus, City Manager, and we can move forward. Thank you. All right, everyone. Let's get to, there's HIJK, there's no business. Is there a motion to adjourn? There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.